Hey everyone, this is Pause or Repeat. Here we figure out whether a game is really worth your time and money. Today's game is Exoprimal. Exoprimal is a multiplayer third-person hero shooter with dinosaurs by Capcom. This is a new IP from Capcom, so it's got a fresh slate and has to make a good impression. Not to mention, it is a live service game, so it will live and die off the amount of players that are playing the game regularly. But what's the gameplay like? Let's see what Capcom has in store for us. The gameplay of Exoprimal is all multiplayer, hence the live service model. You'll be queuing up for random wargame matches that involve facing off against dinosaurs and other players. The usual match of Exoprimal involves racing another team to capture objective points and defend yourselves and the objectives from waves of dinosaurs. Each variety of dinosaur has its own role in trying to impede your progress. After capturing some objectives, the match ends with both teams being able to also face off against each other, disrupting their progress in scoring points. All the while, you are piloting your choice from a range of several exosuits, each with their own special abilities, ranging from the standard assault rifle or sniper character to a bomb lobbing or shielding character. That's where the game takes some inspiration from hero shooters like Overwatch. But what is the story like in this game with dinosaurs and exosuits? The year is 2043 and technology has advanced greatly. Dinosaurs from other dimensions frequently and mysteriously invade your reality. Exosuit fighters are enlisted to combat the dinosaurs and keep them at bay. Now, to go along with the dinosaurs and exosuits, add a rogue AI, time travel, and parallel dimensions. The whole premise is that you're a silent protagonist rookie named Ace, who just got recruited and placed on the Hammerhead's patrol crew. After a mishap flying by Bikitoa Island, the crew crash lands and you are thrust into interdimensional war games by the rogue AI Leviathan in order to collect combat data. Leviathan is drawing in combatants from different dimensions and bringing them all to the year 2040. From there, the crew will need to figure out a way to put a stop to the war games and Leviathan's plans. Being that the game is a live service multiplayer game, you will slowly unlock the story as you play matches, and that acts as motivation to keep playing besides just the gameplay itself. But now the question still stands. Pause or repeat? Alright, this game took a little bit of an interesting take on the storytelling for a multiplayer game, because I feel like it's not too often that you find a multiplayer live service game that really does get to tell a story in the way that this one did. I know that, Apex Legends does a little bit of story, and so does Overwatch, I guess, but, that kind of got completely canned recently. But this one... This one, I think it kind of worked a little bit in actually telling a story properly for a multiplayer live service game where, you are playing the game and, you're unlocking the story bit by bit, but they kind of, actually give you a story instead of just like, here's a comic to go read, or here's a cutscene to go watch outside of the game or something like that. And not to say that, no game has told a good story and be a live service game at the same time. But I think that this one probably is up there in doing the best job at it from what I've seen. Now, that being said, I think this is one of those games that is more fun if you have friends to play with.
Yeah.
If you're just going in solo queue and playing it by yourself, you're probably not going to have the most amount of fun. I mean, you'll have fun, don't get me wrong. The game can be really fun, but it's definitely one of those games like, I want to say kind of like how Left 4 Dead would be, where, if you have friends, it's just going to be that much more fun to play. And that's my opinion on it. But as a result of all these thoughts that I had about the game, I'd say personally, it's a repeat. But
after everything you just said, it's a repeat.
I'd say so.
Even with no friends,
has enough replayability.
Even with the storyline, not necessarily gravitating towards it, you still feel like it's worthy of a repeat.
Well, I think it's one of those games that, it might die in a year or two, depending on the population of the game and whether they're making enough money to keep it up or not. But at the end of the day, the game is fun enough where I think that you could repeat this game and keep playing, for a long time after even now, and have a good
Okay.
time, I think.
Okay, because this is a new IP from Capcom. It really felt like they were trying to go for that multiplayer aesthetic and kind of slacked a little bit when it came to the story mode of the entire story. Yeah, if you want some mindless fun, kind of blasting away at dinosaurs or even their specialized Neosaur mini bosses throughout the game, this game's for you. It does remind me a bit of like a zombie horde in Call of Duty, which goes to your point. Is that really fun to play by yourself? I don't think so. So I feel like, the constant like PvPvE gameplay loop, of like dino survival, uh, can get old real quick. And so, if you're looking for that, that arcade modern style effect, Exoprimal could be for you, but it almost feels like it's almost taking the aesthetics a little bit of that video game Anthem, especially when you got the cool exosuit classes that you can choose from, which I feel is very enjoyable, which was a plus inside the video game. But me personally, I feel like this is a 1 month thing and then you're going to move on to the next game. So for me personally, I say it's a pause.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I think that they could really make the game have a lot of variation if they keep releasing more exosuits to play around with. And I'm sure they have a ton in the works, because I think that Capcom really is kind of trying to invest in this IP a little bit, at least. I would be curious to see what a sequel would be like if they ever do one,
Mm.
because I do agree that the story, even though it was a little, entertaining at points and had some funny moments, it could have been better. I mean that's probably because it is just a multiplayer focused game more so than a story game. But if you're going to tell a story, you should at least try. And I think they did try, but did they really hit the mark on everything? No, not really.
I
But
have this one
I
comment saved. I'm really curious to know your
sure.
thoughts on this, HenricK, because one it kind of resonated with me. One person wrote, if it had launched with PvE only, Savage Gauntlet mode, and removed all the PvP elements from Dino Survival, Exoprimal would have been a better and more focused game. Do you agree with that, or do you think that's a bit of a harsh criticism when it comes to Capcom trying to explore, not trying to be too centralized and trying to expand on what can potentially, like you said, could lead into a sequel?
I feel like, why are you going to limit yourself to just PvE? And, why not also have a mode of PvE and PvP,
Yeah.
Like when I did play Destiny 2 a lot with my friends, there's a game mode in that game called Gambit, which is essentially the same thing as this. And I really enjoyed that, because essentially in that, it's the last phase of the matches just as a whole, where you're going through, you're killing a bunch of enemies, and then you get to invade the other player's side, and then eventually you guys summon a big boss and have to kill it. And it's the same kind of concept with this game, I feel like, where it has that PvE element, but at the same time there's also the PvP element. You have to keep in mind, okay, eventually I can go disrupt the other team, or they can start to disrupt us. So who's going to dunk on who? Is it going to be us, or is it going to be them?
Right, and that is the kind of the cool part. You kind of there's like teams of five players against the other five, and then so it's a 10 player lobby, and essentially you might run across each other, and you can decide to go at each other, or you can team up and take out everybody that's in the surrounding space. So I think that's kind of a cool aspect to the game. But it has a great first impression, but overall, I don't think it's gonna live the test of time, and so that's why I say it's a pause. It doesn't mean it's a horrible game. It's just not necessarily for me. But hey, listen,
Well, I think
HenricK's
it's one of
jazz.
those games you can just pop on, have a little bit of mindless fun with your friends, not have to think about anything, like it's not like Baldur's Gate 3 where You have to
Yeah.
actually plan out your moves and everything. This
75
one,
to 400 hours. Holy moly.
exactly.
Yeah, if you
Now
want
this
that
one
quick
you can
fun, right?
just yeah, you can just pop in, play a few games. You can basically press forward the entire time. It's one of those games essentially.
Yeah, this sounds like this is for the millennial who's working 5 days out of the week overtime, and he just wants to play video games really, really badly, but he can't invest in a huge storyline like God of War, a Red Dead Redemption, or Horizon Forbidden West, to name a few. He just wants to get that quick bang out of his buck. And you know what? I guess that is a plus. I mean, Exoprimal does offer that for you. But if you were looking for something beyond that nature, well, I don't know. I mean, it might lead into some kind of YouTube series. Alan Wake has kind of explored that in the past with even their remastered edition, and we'll probably see some of that nature with the sequel